Namibia. Hello, Africa. Welcome to Africa Beyond Borders. I'm your host, Soraya Mentor, and today's guest, I'm so excited to introduce them, but let me hold myself together. Africa Beyond Borders is all about celebrating rather Africans who've traveled beyond their home countries. It is all about how we carry our culture everywhere we go. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. It's Jacques Cloete joining us. Hello, Jacques.
Hi there, good to be here. Very excited.
I'm excited to chat with you. So excited. Jacques is calling us from South Africa and he's here to share his experience to China. Getting into it, Jacques, please introduce yourself a bit to the viewers, where you're from, where you grew up.
Well, yeah, sure. Obviously, now you said I'm from South Africa, born and raised in the Free State in Bloemfontein, which many regard as a small little town in the middle of nowhere. But it's really one of the biggest cities in South Africa with one of the best universities. So grew up there, studied there. I did my undergrad in BA in literature, linguistics, and psychology. And then I went into film production, and I've been doing that ever since. I did many freelance work and some of my own stuff as well, my own productions. And I'm currently living now, not in the Free State anymore. I'm in the green and warm, even in the winter, Eastern Cape in Gqeberha, and I'm currently working as a lecturer at one of the leading film schools in South Africa, where I'm teaching cinematography. No, not cinematography. Apologies, that's an old discipline I used to give. Where I currently teach directing and editing, and this is now all in the study of motion picture.
I'm very interested to hear where your name comes from, Jacques. I'm not sure if it sounds Afrikaans or German. Do you have a history behind that?
So Jacques is a French name, Jacques.
Jacques.
Um, it's not classically South African or even Western. I do know the story of how I got my name, and it's an old South African novel called Ballade for an Enkele, which is like a ballad for a loner if you translate it to English. And it's about a writer that goes missing, and the main characters in the story sort of follow the clues in his books to find him. And it turns out he just went on this journey of self-discovery, and the character's name was Jock, and that's apparently where I got my name from. My mom named me after him because they did a TV adaptation of the book, and the actor who played him was apparently very handsome, and she thought, hey, why not? And it
Why
turned
not?
out pretty nicely because I do regard myself as a bit of a writer today, and I'm in the arts. So I think that's a nice origin story.
Now, getting into it, Jacques, just a bit more about your culture. Are you Afrikaans, like fully Afrikaans?
Yes, this is a short answer. So, no, grew up Afrikaans, family is Afrikaans. And of course, as someone who is very much into cultural studies and linguistics and language, I always have this sort of internal battle of, language versus culture. Because I do speak more English in my adult life than any other language. Culturally, does that make me? And in South Africa, we are so culturally diverse. We are both everything and nothing at the same time. But no, the short answer is I grew up Afrikaans. Um, but culturally, I do regard myself as sort of a South African chameleon. I'm very much so interested in the diversity of South Africa and, what each culture sort of contributes societally and to discourse. So yeah, I'm just a sponge. I just absorb everyone's
Wow.
fascinating culture.
I think that's a great transition into your journey to China, how you sponge up things and cultures. I'd love to
Mm.
know, what year did you go and what made you want to go to China, firstly?
So that was now 1 year after my studies in 2018. And for anyone who's ever graduated, you are a student for 4 or 5 years, especially if you now go on to postgrad studies, and you're always fulfilled. You're always, you're always growing as a professional and as an adult in general. Uh, you get your degree at the end of the year. You've achieved something, and then when that's all said and done, now what? You have those questions of, okay, cool, how do I fulfill myself? How do I grow as an individual? And my first instinct was sort of to say, I've never been out of the country. Um, let's take a year or, however long to just go to another. And I didn't want to go on holiday just for a week. I really wanted to go and, have a lived experience amongst a different people, a different, climate. And so the obvious route is to go teach overseas. You get paid to go overseas, you get a steady income, and the benefits outweigh everything else. So I started looking into that, and I eventually landed. I didn't choose China. I just applied for RB and Taiwan and Vietnam.
Wow.
uh, China is the one that worked out. And yes, that happened in February, and then about 3 weeks later, I was on the plane ready to go.
3 weeks later. Jeez. So you had three
Yeah, it
weeks to
happened. It
plan
happened very fast.
literally everything.
Mm, yeah. So I'm actually Yeah, it was probably towards the end of January when they told me I now can come over, and I just had under a month to really get my
Wow.
bearings straight. Uh, and it's a lot. It's really, yeah. It was. I thinking back now, I was 24 at the time, and I'm not nearly the responsible 30-something-year-old I am right now, um, as I was when I was 24. I don't know how I got everything completed. Right, I was still a baby then, so my mom also helped me with a lot. Right, but right now on my own, yeah, it seems like a daunting process thinking back.
That is so insane to hear, and I'm actually so interested to find out firstly what job you applied for and what was the paperwork process like in that month?
Yeah. So I applied to be an English teacher. So the first thing I had to do was obviously get my TEFL certificate. So teach English in a foreign language. And that was fairly simple and straightforward, very easy to do that. And once that's complete, then the paperwork starts. So because it's sort of a job, so going over with a visa for 3 months, like a visitor's thing. That's fairly easy. You just go to the embassy and you get all your permits, and you're done. But because it's for work,
Yes.
they need to, and it's sort of a semi-permanent work job where you now work more than 3 months. And because it's China, and they have a bunch of specific requirements. The strangest one was I had to go get X-rays for my lungs, to see if I was healthy, and also to test for TB, tuberculosis. Then I had to get blood work done to see if I was, completely healthy, if I had any diseases. Suffice to say, that was all clear. And then once the medical stuff was done, I had to get police clearance to show that I wasn't a criminal. And again, that was also clear. Um, and of course, this is now as someone who comes from what is considered a small town in the Free State. All of these, the embassies and everything, is in either Cape Town or Johannesburg. So that's a bit of a struggle. My grandpa lived in a small town just about an hour and a half away from Johannesburg. So we went there and stayed there for the entire week and basically drove into Johannesburg in and out. Because obviously there are delays and there is confusion of paperwork, and you have to go back and
Sure.
forth and get a sign off here and then go back there, and then you need your police clearance, but that's not available yet. So yeah, it is a bit of a up and down with regards to getting everything. And then of course I had to get my because I'm teaching, I needed to get my diploma, uh, my certificate, my education. What do you call it?
Diploma?
My Bachelor of Arts
Oh,
diploma.
okay.
Yeah, it's a diploma. um, I needed to get that certified, and I didn't even know that countries do that. It was, and I wish I could tell you where it was. Remember where the street is, but there's a special, like, municipal building where you now go, and it's beautiful, beautiful modern building with plants everywhere, and there you now go to have all of your paperwork certified, and they certify it with a wax stamp and a ribbon, and it gets put into a little container.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
legit. So that was very, like, I didn't, and it's such a small thing, it's just paperwork, but it's so cool that that's the way they do it. It was very, it felt like pomp and tradition, and
Wow, whole ceremony.
yes, and then yes, pomp and ceremony. I always get that wrong. um, so then there's two embassies, and one was in the Sandton Mall, and the Sandton Mall is huge. It's like, and it's Sandton. It's like it's the economic hub of South Africa.
Yeah,
And in the middle, there's a mall, and the mall is famous for its Nelson Mandela statue and everything. So we walked around there for a while, and then you go up in a tower that's in the mall all the way up, and that's where you find the China embassy, which was also strange because you go through a mall and then sort of a hotel and then up an elevator like
just see.
12 stories,
It's a
and then
whole
you get
journey.
to the China embassy. Yes. And then, yes, I applied, and then it was a waiting period. And then about, 2 weeks later, I had to go pick up my, approvals and, forms and everything from another embassy that's specifically just for pickup. Um, so yes, and luckily my employer sent out like a list, a form that's sort of like a guide of what is required, where you get it, what you have to say to the people, and after that it's just a matter of googling where these places are, and then sort of planning your day and setting your schedule for that week to collect everything.
I think
And then of
doing this at
course
24 is
I
insane.
No, it is insane. And luckily, I already had a passport. That's an obvious thing that you
Yeah.
need, but at least I had a passport already, so that was one less thing that I had to get.
Ah, I'm just so excited to hear more about your journey in China and definitely to see just what a 24-year-old was taking in that time. Before we continue, we're going to take a quick break, viewers, and we'll be right back.
My name is Susan Maswavi, and found myself here at Zambezi Pre, like for the first time. So because I have a desire of cooking, yeah, this is my favorite thing I do. So I thought maybe I can showcase my case or my recipes here. So that's why I came. I have different food I prepare. I have Zambezi Pre, cooked one and fried one, and also we brine meat. We have pap, which is from meat, like pounded one. Especially like those that was the amazing meal that made us grow up. My favorite thing about Zambezi Brim is to experience to see how other people do when in the industry of cooking. So like now the big challenge was like have to learn from others, like how do they do. So next time I also have to do more or to do better, because this is a big experience. I think next year I'll be the I'll do the greater than I did this year.
Hi there, and welcome back to Africa Beyond Borders. I'm your host, Soraya Mentor. We get to chat to amazing Africans who've traveled beyond their home countries. It is all about how we carry our culture everywhere we go. Today's guest is Jacques Cloete, who's here to tell us his experiences from South Africa, going to China, and we're just getting more into it. So, I'm not sure if you're able to remember, but I'd love to know your first 72 hours when you landed in China. What was that like?
I remember it very clearly,
Oh, wow.
every second. It was that impactful to me. So it was a stopover flight, so stopped in Abu Dhabi first, and what I remember from that was just red sand looking out of the window. So coming from South Africa, we have the Kalahari and the Karoo, but there's grass everywhere. So just seeing a desert like that, it was a red sand desert. Of course, we have Namibia and Botswana, and they have their deserts. So that was the first thing I remember. And I don't know if I must tell this story, but I desperately needed lip balm because my lips were so dry. And because getting
Okay.
to the OR Tambo airport, so leaving, it's quite stressful. And when I get stressed, I lick my lips. And when I boarded, it was 16 hours of dry lips, and I forgot my lip eyes. So that was one thing I remember. And I eventually found in the airplane bathroom they had hand lotion. And I used that eventually. So that's the main thing that I remember from the trip. So landing, uh, the first thing that I remember wanting to like feel was the change in weather and smell. And weather, I landed there in February, so it was sort of spring, uh, just coming off of winter, but it was fairly, neutral. And then the air was quite heavy. That's the first thing I experienced. Even with cold weather, it was very humid. Um, and then finding the guy who's picking me up, and then he put me in a taxi, and I went to the hotel. And that first drive, I remember I put on my earphones, and I played what's the song that I played? Here I Go Again on My Own. And I think it's by Whitesnake. And I was just sitting in the taxi jamming to that. And of course, I should have done more research going there because obviously they have the Great Firewall of China is what they call it. So outside internet is blocked entirely in China. So you can't access WhatsApp or normal internet at all. So you're
Wow.
completely severed from the rest of the world. And the only way as a Westerner or a foreigner to connect via WhatsApp or, Messenger is to have a VPN, which I didn't have. So I was completely, contactless in a foreign country. And the first thing I remember, I was playing music and I looked around and I thought, wow, the Chinese people sure enjoy gambling. Like they're a bunch of because all I see are casinos. All around
Wow.
me is just casinos. And but then I thought, wait, but gambling is not legal in China. And that's when it hit me. I'm so used to casinos being the buildings with lights, neon lights, and it's made up to be attractive. In South Africa, these were just normal buildings with lights and very
Regular Tuesday.
LED lights. Yes, so that's the first thing I notice is that the Chinese people they are really into aesthetic appeal of their buildings, and that was just the first few that I saw. As the months went on, I saw some of the most beautiful architecture you will ever see, and I mean
Wow.
they when you go to their cities, the floor lights up outside. There's squares, there's lights and everything. So that was the first thing. And then I got out of the taxi. We were at the hotel, and the taxi driver wanted me to pay him. And no one understands English, or it's difficult to find someone who understands English. I don't know how to tell him that I don't know what he's saying. I had money with me because I went and exchanged my money for uh, RMB, so I had cash on me, but I didn't know, how much he needed and what he exactly wanted. So what happened was there were two taxis with another person being picked up, and we were supposed to arrive at the hotel at the same time, but they were late. So there was like 20 minutes of me sort of going back and forth, going into the hotel, asking if anyone speaks English, No one knows what I'm saying. I don't know what they're saying. The taxi driver is getting upset at me. My phone doesn't work. I can't call anyone.
Oh,
And I was
geez.
stressed out of my mind because this is like the first half hour in a new country. Like I'm still coming off of like jet lag and
16 hours is a
just
very long time.
yeah. So eventually the other one arrived and it was with another South African. So luckily I could actually go, hi, hello, sorry, ek is so gestressed. So I could speak in my own language to someone in this new country, which was very, soothing, in that moment. And then, yeah, we booked into the hotel and uh, yeah, and from there, the next morning, you said 72 hours. So the next morning we went to training and we were in Guangzhou, which is in the Guangdong region, very big city. And they took us the first day, held our hands how to get to the main building from our hotel. So it's a couple of streets and then down to the subway. And then you take a subway like this, and then you get off and take a subway going that way and that way. And so none of us ever saw a subway. We don't have subways. We have the train in Joburg, but that's nothing compared to the way
They
they do
use
it.
it
And
daily,
what
yeah.
stood out to me is just yeah. And the subway is the subway, but the way it's clean, it's so beautiful. It's like walking into a hospital. There's
Wow.
a cubicle on every subway. All the subways are underground where you enter, and and that's a mall in itself. Like every subway stop has shops and kiosks and a police station, like a mini police station. Um, so that was absolutely awesome to see. Um, we got on the subway, and I remember the South Africans because, of course, South Africa has a bit of a high crime rate. Uh, so we were all now like
On
smushed into the
alert.
subway, like sardines, basically,
Oh,
and on alert because you're surrounded by people. So we're all sort of holding onto our pockets,
yeah.
and checking our phones. And the one girl who was with us, so the people who hired us, they could speak English. So they asked, why are we now constantly, checking ourselves? And we said, well, just in case there's theft. And, if this is now like a romantic story, she would have said, no, that doesn't happen in China, which is great. But to her credit, she did say, no, they do have pickpocketers and they do have the areas where you check yourself. But with regards to the subway, we don't have to be worried because there are cameras everywhere. Every subway has police,
Wow. So cool.
officers on duty. A criminal can get away with a theft on the
Wow.
subway. So culturally, that just doesn't exist in the subway.
That is
And
just so
one
amazing
subway,
to hear.
yes, and one stop was an underground zoo. So you start
Ooh.
underground, you go out, you come out. It's a zoo, and they have pandas and you know all sorts of animals and beautiful fauna and flora, just in general. And then you get to the building, and it's a skyscraper, and I've never been on so many elevators in my life than in China. Um, and then we received training, and then of course that night they took us out and they took us to the CBD, and it was a mall, and then the mall goes underground again, and then you're in a 12-story mall that's just books. It's a mall dedicated to books, and then you go again. Everything is sort of connected, and yeah, that was all like so crazy. It's we have malls and stuff, but it's just the culture. Everything is sort of like cartoons and anime, and
Yes.
everything lights up. It's a culture that's very much in tune with their inner child. Not that they're childish at all. The adults that I met there are fantastic people and very hardworking. Uh, but they are really, they didn't let their inner child die as they grew up, and that you can see that everywhere you
That is
go.
so
They're very much,
beautiful to hear.
uh,
Oh, I would love to go
yeah, and
to
that's the
China now.
it was honestly like stepping at least 50 years into the future.
Wow.
coming
You,
from South Africa.
ah, Jacques, it's just amazing to hear your adventure. We have to say goodbye to the viewers pretty much soon, but I'd love to just hear one more. If there's an advice you'd like to give to a fellow traveler who is in a similar situation as you and a lesson that you learned from this traveling.
If it's someone that's going to China specifically, do all your research. There's a lot of forums. Go to Reddit. That's been a lifesaver. You know, there are
Wow.
a lot of foreigners in China, and they share tips and tricks on how to survive. And touch as much grass as you can. I remember the first time I saw grass, like a grass patch on the sidewalk. It was like 2 weeks in, and I took my shoes off and to just feel it. So there's a lot of
Ooh,
concrete, but once you
nice.
discover the layout and you discover the parks, then everything makes sense. And then, of course, don't be afraid to try new food, because a lot of the food is something that you've never seen before and you can't really make out what it is, but it's absolutely fantastic. The food they have there is awesome. So don't be afraid to try new things, and make sure you get a VPN on your phone before you go over. Don't make the
VPN,
same mistake
highlight
I did.
that. Jacques, it has been absolutely amazing having you in studio with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your adventures beyond home. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Soraya. It's fun.
To all our viewers, you can catch us every Monday at 8:30 p.m. on DSTV channel 285, GoTV channel 25, and oneup2.com. We can't wait to see you guys next week Monday. Yay!